Welcome one and all to Bike Racing Without Mercy, picking up where we left off in the last video on the descent of Alpe d'Huez in order to commence Europe's most prestigious Gran Fondo, La Marmotte, 176 kilometers ascending 5,000 meters over 4 Hors Category Climbs.
Merci. Well, I just about made it in time. I'm going to sit up right now. Fingers crossed. That descent was very unpleasant.
Naturally, I managed to miss my 7 AM start time and set off, well, almost alone, slotting in behind these veterans of the Euro cycling scene. We took it easy on the 10-kilometre run in to the right-hand turn into the village of Hors Category, the very shallow start of the ascent of the Col du Glandon West. The Glandon kicks up a little bit on the S-turns just after the village of La Fonderie, providing some spectacular views of the village to the rear and the Lac de Verney from the front. Before commencing this climb, the vets and I had let a group who had started after us sweep through in a frenzy of excitement and carbon. But, aided by the sage advice from many people in these comments, I resisted the temptation to chase on, repeating the oft-advised mantra to myself. The first rule of Marmotte Club is that you do not go too hard on the Glandon. The second rule of Marmotte Club is you do not go too hard on the Glandon. So miraculously, I found myself riding my own ride and very much not charging off into the mists in hot pursuit and a flurry of watts and burnt matches. Doubtless, the sombre gravity of the challenge ahead plus the overcast weather contributed to this dour strategy. But hallelujah, by spinning away and deploying my miserly 190 to 210 watts, I quickly reacquainted myself with nearly all of those who had sped past. The Col du Glandon West sports vital statistics of 30 kilometers distance, climbing 1,200 meters at just 4%. Easy peasy, right? Not tough, but actually not easy either. A super shallow start plus a couple of little intermediate descents reduce that average gradient and ensures that there are a few bonus steep sections to keep you honest. After a glorious start to the climb, replete with the S-turns and the beautiful views over the village and the Lac de Verney, you suddenly find yourself shrouded in woodland. At the same time, I was also congratulating myself on the decision to wear the Castelli Garba, keeping a damn pan. Now this fella is older and bolder and most likely stronger than me, enjoying a sprightly little draft and no doubt plotting his return to the pro peloton in 2022. But after a number of kilometres, the Col du Glandon starts to hint at the beauty that's about to unfurl. Mystical little villages manifest themselves out of the woodland and allied to more frequent views to the right of the mountain ridge falling away and the Rissu mountain rising menacingly 2,622 metres above sea level, well, things start to get a hell of a lot more interesting. This is the longest intermediate descent on the Glandon, with some switchback action and weather also on the turn for the better, but prudently I let those with more skill and less fear blast their way by. We're soon back on the climb and the majesty of this Gran Fondo rapidly starts to impose itself. Now kudos to this likely lad, number 2,568. Now this guy looks like he's superimposed onto the shot like an old Hollywood movie, right onto the background there. But he was real and he was smiling away for the camera and we had to find room for him in the edit. You also catch here a brief glimpse of the dam.
Still on the Glandon. About 1,200 metres of elevation, enjoying the ride. We're at about 200 watts on average, but look at this.
Now I encountered this veteran of the road out the saddle swinging side to side during the Gran Fondo Alpe d'Huez. Some may say it's a little bit agricultural, but it's clearly effective for him. 3,800 metres of ascending to go though.
Lee Baxter, it's a bit like the Lake District, isn't it?
For sure. As you'll see on a forthcoming Fred Whitten video, this could be the descent from Newlands Pass or Rhinos Pass, save of course for the much superior French road surface.
I've met Stuart, he's also from London, on a beautiful parlay. Hi Stuart.
Hello.
How are you finding it today?
Well, yeah, I'm pleased that it's not raining. The weather's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's not too warm, it's not too cold.
And look at the vistas up there. That's a bit of a lump of geology.
It's one way to describe it.
Sure is. Anyway, we're conserving energy, so the camera's going away. Two London lads. First time on the Glandon. Oh. Bonjour, merci beaucoup. Oh yeah, that's a nice sight. Coming to the top of the Glandon, pull out a camera and my wind vest falls on the floor, so I have to stop, but here we are.
So the time for the Glandon was 1 hour 50 minutes, averaging 187 watts, 200 normalised.
Orange with a view. Oh, is that good? But another really nice guy I've met on the raid called Darius reminded me that the descent from the Glandon is neutralised. Therefore I've decided to take my time, replenish the batteries in the GoPros, take on a few carbohydrates and a bit of Coca-Cola, and generally pamper myself ahead of getting on with the descent. It's also an opportune moment to say that in terms of my pacing strategy that I devised on the rollers and with Dr. Dave Dearlove, I've decided to knock 15 to 20 watts off of that based on how I've been going on Alpe d'Huez. I'm reckoning on 200 to 220 watts on each of the climbs. On the Glandon, I reckon I average about 190 to 200, taking it real easy, saving obviously the energy for the Galibier, and ultimately, once again, for the third time this holiday, Alpe d'Huez.
Now neutralised means that the time taken to descend only the Glandon doesn't count to the overall time, in order to encourage people not to take risks on what is a very spectacular but technical descent. Needless to say, I was passed by the many, not the few. It's a long old slog into the town of Saint-Jean-de-Maurienne, where the neutralised section ends and a long flat slog through the valley commences. Now Ollie from Cyclists had advised me to get into a pace line if one was available, so I did actually invest quite a few watts in order to stay with some bigger lads from the continent as they accelerated out of town. And the strategy soon paid off, because I happily let my domestiques do all of the hard work and deliver me in fine spirits to the foot of the Telegraph in the handsome town of Saint-Michel-de-Maurienne.
By tagging on to the back of this European pace line, I've saved myself a hell of a lot of energy. The transitions between mountains are actually quite long. Didn't look too bad on paper. In reality, a fair old way.
The Col du Telegraph clocks in at 12 kilometres with average gradient 6.8% and is of course the aperitif for the Col du Galibier.
Best of luck with it.
Visually, the climb out of the town shown here plus the final 1.5 kilometres were the highlights of the Telegraph for me, because a lot of it's in the woodland. but it does have a number of very pleasing switchbacks and a consistent gradient, in turn enabling me to sustain a very satisfying cadence of breathing rhythm.
Inside the final half kilometre on a Col du Telegraph. It's proper difficult this, but riding within myself, around about 200 watts I reckon for this, maybe a tad more. Only just over half of the elevation, long way to go. Galibier is on the menu. Here we are, the summit. Water, I need water. And with Mike from North London, he's conquered the Telegraph and the Glandon. Galibier is on a deck. How are you feeling about the Galibier, Mike?
Ask me at the top.
I'll ask you at the top. Beautiful Bianchi, by the way, look at that. All the style. Best of luck with it, sir.
And you.
I completed the Telegraph in 53 minutes, averaging 212 watts. The descent is just 5 kilometres, dispatched in 7 minutes.
Galibier is coming now.
And of course, time for the entree, Col du Galibier, number 87 greatest Tour de France climbs, commencing here in the town of Valloire, clocking in at 17.5 kilometres, climbing 1,198 metres from 1,450 metres above sea level to 2,650. The average gradient is 6.7%. As we hit the climb, I reverted back to my mid-zone 2.
About 12 kilometres to go on Galibier. Stunning scenery, as is part of course in the Alps. Sifra.
Hey, Phil!
Ça va?
Well,
We meet again on the Galibier.
it's getting harder and harder, but
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it?
yeah. How's it going with you?
Yeah, losing energy here.
Yeah, I see it. At my power, it's dropping.
Mine too.
But
But Ali.
Battery's not dropping up.
Yeah, my heart rate the same. Dear me. Hard work this.
Patting myself on the back for the decision to top up on the water, because as it turned out, a further 1 hour 22 minutes of climbing beckoned, and that's pre-Alpe d'Huez. Critical, therefore, to stay on top of the eating and drinking administration. It's a pretty direct and a long old slog to the rugged and twisting mountain pass to the summit. Very pretty, but much more of a drag than from the opposite direction departing La Grave. Check out my video, cycling Col du Galibier from La Grave, Alpine perfection.
Look at that. Intimidating.
But as we swept around the right-hand turn, Galibier ups the ante in terms of the gradients and also the vistas. This is the not insubstantial business end of the climb. We've bought the ticket, so now time to press harder on the pedals and absorb a visual extravaganza, blending geology, nature, exquisite road engineering, sheep, and of course, a rainbow of carbon and lycra. The sheer scale of the task and the height of the mountain are what makes the heart quake. But fear not, there's nothing that can't be achieved with a measured pacing strategy on this col. Once again, the rear camera shows off the range of different amateur riding styles in order to tame this beast. As I say, there's nothing to fear here, provided your base fitness is decent. Completed the climb in 1 hour 22 minutes, including 3 minutes to change the GoPro battery. Average power was 200 watts. Including the Col du Telegraph, this is in effect a 35-kilometre climb ascending 1,906 metres and took me 2 hours 30 minutes in total, including the descent and a 7-minute stop for water and the GoPro battery change. Average power 196 watts, normalised 205.
Cresting Galibier, proper hard, about 200 watts. I'm withered. I need an emergency Coke. Stuart, meet Sifra. Stuart from London.
Hey, how are you doing?
Sifra from the Netherlands, staying with Sifra.
Yeah.
And Ruben. We're all pretty withered, I think.
Yeah.
How did you find it?
Sorry?
How did you find the climb?
Very hard. Yeah. Especially the last 3K.
Yeah, the first
Yeah.
3K.
My legs were blown and yeah, it was very hard. But, yeah.
So who's looking forward to Alpe d'Huez? Yeah.
I'm looking forward to surviving.
Surviving the Alpe, yeah.
Trying to look forward to it, sorry.
A huge sense of achievement getting out the Galibier just there on the back of the Glandon and the Telegraph. Now for the descent, the hell of the descent, although it's a very pretty one.
I should also add that towards the middle of this descent, Sifra came past me like I was going backwards. She has skills on skills. I was much more stately, and eventually, heeding Ollie from Cycle Lu's advice, latched on to some bigger lads to shield me from the prevailing wind.
In another European pace line, saving some energy ahead of the Alpe.
With camera batteries on fumes, we hit the steepest climb of the day, Alpe d'Huez, 12.5 kilometres at 8.5%.
Sifra, we'll have to stop meeting like this. I'm in all kinds of trouble.
Oh, but you are doing great, Phil.
Your descending is epic.
Thank you.
And around turn 21, the gravity of this magnificent challenge dawned on me. This is climbing without mercy. I was right on my limit, simply to sustain 200 watts average power.
That was emotional. Not far now. At last, proper emotional. Cheers, Marco. Now time for tea and medals. Proper withered. Bonjour. Boy, am I glad to see you.
Likewise.
Merci beaucoup. I'm in all kinds of trouble. Merci beaucoup.
You can park your bike over there, and food and drinks are over there. Maybe you need some?
Merci. I could cry, literally. I think I managed 200 watts at the Alpe, but it was emotional.
Didn't like.
I'm here with Steve.
Hey, nice to see
He
you.
completed the Marmotte a little bit ahead of me. How did you fare, sir?
First time I've ever done it. I absolutely loved it. The only bit I didn't like was the last 3 miles of the Galibier and the last 3 miles of Alpe d'Huez. I'm already excited about doing it next year.
You showed me the person that liked the last 3 kilometres of either of those, and I'll show you the masochist.
I know, I tell you what, it was absolutely brilliant.
What's your daughter called?
This is Poppy.
Hey Poppy, you alright?
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Around on your bike, haven't you?
Nice one.
That's it.
So you're coming back next year?
Oh, I certainly hope so. I've really enjoyed myself. You were looking good shooting down there a minute ago.
I didn't feel good.
Not feeling good.
Didn't feel good. I'm in all kinds of difficulty. Anyway, see you soon, fella.
Nice one.
Sifra.
It was a tough one.
Your descending is on another level. Marco, I mean, I could almost cry. I could almost cry.
I know the feeling.
How'd you go, Ruben? How'd you go, Ruben?
It went well. Yeah, I think I ended up 40th.
Oh my word. 40th, P40, on another level. For backpedalers, it's been a good old weekend. Hey Kai, how did you go, sir?
Yeah, it went all right. It went all right.
It went all right. All right, it went a bit more than all right. I think we can safely say that the red Villiers thrashed the blue Villiers. What time did you do it in?
7 hours and 10 minutes, I think.
71, that is incredible. 71 out of more than 3,000. My word, Kai. All kinds of strong. Another fist bump. So Ruben 40, Kai 70, 71, Potato 70, 71. That is sensational. Initial conclusions. If you're looking to do the Marmotte, getting the training, probably doing a bit more tempo than I managed ahead of this. And if you think you're going to ride 250 watts up the hills, lock 20 off. If you think you're going to ride 240, lock 20 off. I reckon I needed to lock about 30 off. Probably 200 to 210 up the climbs. Dear me. Double dear me. Treble dear me. Proper emotional. I never want to get on a bike again, I'm only joking. But I can't even contemplate right now the Fred Whitten that is looming.
No, you got 14
I cannot,
days.
no, I cannot contemplate it.
No, it's 15,
I spent the
yeah.
whole time going up the Alps saying never, ever again.